Athena, Autistic Artist College. Welcome to my show, Pierre.
Welcome, and thank you so very much, Maria, for inviting me.
Can you tell us a little background story, what it was like for you growing up and your college you went to?
Right. So, I am not on the spectrum myself. Let's make that clear right away. I am. I have been deeply fascinated by the condition ever since I became a homeopath. That is what I am. I am a homeopath, and from the get-go, in fact, my very first patient was on the spectrum. I didn't ask. I didn't. I was not looking, but my very first patient was on the spectrum. I had known about autism already. I started about 30 years ago. I knew about autism myself. Why? I do not know. It crossed my path. My first patient was on the spectrum. My first patient had seizures, and the only thing I could do was actually treat the seizures. And I heard this was, like I said, about 30 years ago, and I heard, very unfortunately, a few weeks ago that she passed away, but never had seizures ever again. However, I was deeply affected by her, and almost decided, but it really came to me. I almost decided to treat only autism, but that was not a conscious decision. It just, people came to me. People came to see me. Now, 30 years ago, it was not a autism homeopathy. I mean, people didn't even know the word homeopathy even today. And autism, but they came, and I tried my best. And what I read was rather ridiculous to me, to be honest with you. What I noticed, and this was the first step, if you will, the almost the intention. Everything I read was essentially looking at the person with autism from the outside, and to me, making a judgment. The child does not speak. The child does not socialize. Child doesn't do this. The child doesn't do that. Child doesn't eat. The child eats one food. The child is, uh, uh, plays with a toy truck and just spins the wheels, and so on. And we need to rectify that. To me, it was a completely wrong approach. And that is what essentially 95% of everything that is out there does. It tries to rectify, it tries to alter what the child, or now the adult on the spectrum, is doing, without any understanding of why they're doing it to this day. So I said, let me try to understand this from the inside. And this idea of mine lasted essentially 25 years. This deep dive that I just described, I had a brief radio show on Autism One Radio, very brief, a couple of episodes. I was too busy in this deep dive into autism to busy myself with a radio show. And in the end, after the publication of my third book, that I didn't understand how really crucial it is, I came to a definition for autism in 2 words. 2 words explains autism. 2. Only 2. And there are not no behaviors in autism. There are symptoms of autism. I believe there are about 150 symptoms of autism. There are no behaviors. Behaviors is a misunderstanding of what autism is. But over the years, I'm concentrating 25 years into a few minutes here, which is fine because it actually comes down to 2 words. There's a definition for autism. Once we know these 2 words, we can understand everything about autism, or nearly.
So what are those 2 words?
Conceptual inability.
And what's that about? Where's the details on that?
Yeah, I repeat. Conceptual inability. It's very important. Even a third time, it's so good. Conceptual inability, which includes instinct. Okay? Now let me explain. Why does a child eat one food? No concept of food. If you don't have concept of food, what's the bother of eating more than one food? If you don't have concept of food, why eat? It's so difficult to make these kids eat. Very often they don't even breastfeed. If you don't have concept of a toy truck, you're never gonna take the truck and moving back and forth and making go through, red lights and so on and so forth. You're gonna spin the wheels.
Repetitive.
That is all you can do is spin the wheels. You don't have a concept of toy. So if you see a truck and you don't have concept of toy, which is innate, certain things are innate. So all this 95% that I'm talking about, they're trying to make the person on the spectrum develop what they don't have to begin with. And in the end, the treatment of autism doesn't require anything else but return conceptual inability to conceptual ability.
So what are some of the things you do as a doctor, homeopathic, how you worked with autism?
Then I need to understand the child, right? Now I'm treating autism. I'm not treating a behavior. I'm not trying to make the child understand. Writing the letter A. There's what I call autism writing. They all do the same. They all do the same. An A will look will look the same for one child on the spectrum to the other. Why? Because the A is all over the place. To a child on the spectrum, an A is 3 bars. It's not an A, it's 3 bars. They don't have the concept of writing. I mean, imagine if you don't have the concept so much of eating or playing or even joining in, sort of crawling to mama and papa, not the concept of a mother or the father, of feeding. How can you have the concept of writing? So then this 95 or more percent of the entire community of autism is trying to get kids to do something they absolutely cannot do. And from time to time, as we know, kids get aggressive. Oh, yeah, he attacked the teacher. But let me ask you, Maria, I am telling you, you can speak Russian. You can speak Russian, Maria. You're going to tell me, no, I don't speak Russian. Yes, you can. If I do what so-called therapy does, if I do what so-called therapy does, which is, yes, you can do this. Yeah, you wrote an A, but I have no concept of an A. I just put 3 bars. Okay, you can speak Russian. If I tell you long enough you can speak Russian and you cannot, you're gonna get upset at me. So they are not behaviors; they are normal reactions, really.
Normal reactions.
And conceptual inability, you understand essentially 95% of what autism is. That's never been done before, I'm sorry to say.
What are the books that you wrote? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about it.
I wrote Homeopathy, Sweet Homeopathy, which is not only about autism. I wrote that's at a that's at a early in my career. Then I wrote One Heart, One Mind. One Heart, One Mind was I have a copy here. Oh, and I wrote One Heart, One Mind, but that's in the middle of my career. That's an exercise in trying to understand the mother through what a technique I called surrogacy case taking, because obviously it's very difficult to understand a child who cannot speak to begin with, cannot relate, who cannot do a lot of things that, how do you say, can make someone else understand. And so I wrote One Heart, One Mind. That is a surrogacy method through generally the mother who is connected to the child and can tell me certain things about the child. It's a very, very, very in-depth. My first consultation takes 3 hours. Okay, so it's a very in-depth way of going about things. But so that was a step up, if you will, from the beginning of my practice. When I saw that first child, I was not able to do much about the autism itself. It's a progression. This is about in the middle of my practice, One Heart, One Mind. When, quite frankly, I remember even today, when a mother started with the questions are very deep to the mother or the father, but it's generally the mother in the United States. Other countries, the father is more involved, but in the United States, it's generally the mother who mothers. And uh, through that process, I was able to get more information about the child. Okay, more, how to say, internal information about the child. You see, and then, but this was not good enough. It was, to me, it didn't resolve enough cases to call it success. Okay, because I do believe that most cases can be returned to, can be diagnosed off the spectrum. And let me make now a bit of a distinction between being diagnosed off the spectrum, being diagnosed on the spectrum, and then off the spectrum. But then there's another step as well that I call neurotypicality. Okay. So One Heart, One Mind came at a time when I was really struggling and I needed more solution, more insights into the child. And then came conceptual inability, the definition for autism, no doubt about it. There cannot be any other definition than
So
conceptual.
after you do the communicate with the parents and they provide you all this information, you determine how the child will need to learn in school, or do you help with the support, or what foods you need to eat or not eat? That it will be an important role to help the child?
Foods and supplements are never going to solve this. You cannot solve autism maybe once in a blue moon. Okay, I'm not. Let's take those cases aside. Okay, it's not by discontinuing milk and wheat that autism, which is such a deep condition, which has always been with humanity. In my third book, The Language of Autism, I trace autism back to 1300. The most research case of autism, the word autism come in 1901, 1903. I have a whole chapter on the history of autism in my third book, The Language of Autism. The most research case ever, frankly, is 1799 in France. Victor, his name was Victor. It gives everything you need to know. You read Victor's case, which was researched for 5 years thoroughly. No other case is more researched than this one. The case of Victor is a case of autism. People who specialize officially, if you will, with degrees and so on. I'm just a homeopath. Said he was on the spectrum. So it's been with us, but it's been a ginormous spike for some reasons, which hopefully are being somewhat dealt with today. But I want to go back to conceptual inability, because conceptual inability, then I can understand. It's no longer this mishmash, this illogical mountain of behaviors, as we call them. That's the only word we have, but they're not. They're really symptoms. It's this mountains of illogical. Why is my child not using the bathroom and going into in the closet? You see, it's completely illogical, but there is a logic. And so then there's a gradation from there. You see, it's an understanding of the child within. That does he or she understand rules at all? If she lines or he lines cars down the hallway, does he even understand his own rule of lining things up? Okay? It becomes very important because then after that, that gives us an idea where the child is, although the symptomatology tells us where the child is, but in details, because after that, is the child somewhat close, you know? If the child, most of these children don't follow rules, they must have their way, okay? So they have no sense of, if I follow the rules, I survive, right? You're not making any money. You can't get your own food and so on and so forth. I will not survive if I don't follow my own rules. I will not survive. I will survive if I follow my own rules. I will not survive if I follow others' rules. So that's why, if I follow my own rules, that's why they're very much individual on the spectrum must have what they want. It's something small, insignificant, but they must have it because their own survival depends on it. So they have a sense of their own rules, but sometimes they don't even have an understanding of their own rules. You see? It becomes, now we're looking at autism, the difference here. I can't teach in 3 minutes what I've what I learned in 30 years.
What about the neurological? Do you work with that?
There's nothing neurological. There's nothing neurological. Why do I know that? Because every single week I have kids who are diagnosed off the spectrum.
What some of the things do you do with the child at your office?
I don't do anything to the child. I'm a homeopath. I give a homeopathic remedy.
And was that in steps of the homeopathic is like a vitamin or something you give them?
Yeah, it's a what do you call it? Off the counter, on the counter. What is it? Out of the counter. It's off the counter remedy. Yeah. But I send it. I send it to the parents. To me, you're not going to be the parents. I take care of all that, but I give a homeopathic remedy. Yeah. But what is crucial is that now we are no longer looking at the child and largely placing judgment, trying to effect a change that absolutely cannot happen. When a change happens to a child on the spectrum, let's say the child now is using the bathroom, basic example. It's because the child has been told a million times to use the bathroom. So now the child understands contextually. He understands that one thing. That's why very often when the child learns to pee in the toilet very quickly, he's going to poop in the toilet. But a child on the spectrum may pee in the toilet and take years to poop because there's no concept. It's not there. You see, when you return concept, the child, an example from this afternoon, the child, the father said, we used to have to wake him up, give him breakfast, 2 bananas, that's it, that's what he eats, give him breakfast, brush his teeth, dress him. See, all these steps, each one they had to do. The child did not get the concept. I need to get up to go to school. So I get up, I eat breakfast, I wash my face, I brush my teeth, I get dressed, I put my backpack, I put my shoes, my coat because it's cold, and then I go with Pop, wait for the bus. That's a concept. See, people outside are trying to teach one thing at a time. So the child is going to pee in the bathroom, but take years to poop in the bathroom because they ain't got the concept. You're not teaching anything. So eventually, with repetition, with context, a
Yes.
context of repetition, he's going to do what eventually, say. That's why people say, see, when we connect the dots, this is fully understood now. That's what people say. We teach him one thing, the next day he doesn't know. No, of course he cannot know. You thought you learned yesterday, he learned contextually because you repeated many times. Next day he doesn't have it because he never got it conceptual.
Repeat,
Autism
and
is
you have to repeat the same steps, the same methods every day, because that's what you need to do to get up and get ready for school.
and the child gets it. The child gets it. Wait a second.
Yes.
My kids, they with homeopathic remedies that follow his development. Okay, they get it. They even the example today. She said, "Pink boots." She never said a word before I saw her, but she asked for her pink boots. Not the green one. She wanted the pink ones today. Before you could have put a green boot, a pink boot. You could have put one on the foot and the other on the other. She wouldn't have cared. But now she gets dressed. She eats, she gets dressed, she brushes her teeth, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing. She knows now she's going to school and she enjoys school and she says hello to the bus driver and the whole bit. It's all coming. See, we're returning conceptual inability to conceptual ability.
Yes.
She understands, she enjoys food also. I mean, I could pull any case. It all returns. That's why these kids are diagnosed off the spectrum, because they can read a book and understand what a book is. What is a book but a concept, right? A story is a concept. It's nothing else than that.
Yes, and every autistic person that you worked with has a different story.
Exactly. Has a different story, a different, if you, ability, different abilities. I know my new patient tomorrow, for example, she has. I'll tell you, it's right here. It's just a basic thing. She's nonverbal, has absolutely no imaginative. She has low muscle tone. Low muscle tone. If anything, please, parents, stop this. Low muscle tone is not true. Let me repeat. Low muscle tone, 99% of the time, is simply not true. A child does not know how to use a ball, has no concept of the ball. So, what do you do with the ball? Imagine yourself. This thing is coming at you. You have no concept. This thing is coming at you. You just get you step aside or you just get hit. You never get. What is this thing? This is play. Well, I have to catch a ball. I mean, how stupid is this, frankly? But it's play. In the human race, it's actual play. They don't have it. They don't have that concept. They just don't. So it's not that they have low muscle tone. You know why we know they have no muscle tone? Because 90% of these kids will run throughout the house 24/7. Some kids sleep 2-3 hours a night. And they're going to run. So they don't have low muscle tone. They have no concept of bodily organization. Yes. So
it's different.
PT, it's completely different. It's completely different. It's not. It has nothing to do with low muscle tone. Anyway, so this upcoming case, yeah, she does not paint. She likes to quote read, but she doesn't read. But what she actually likes is not read, is not look at books. She likes to be next to mom. So a whole other thing. She likes to read books. No, because when mom is reading books and she figured out that she likes books where there's sort of a rhyme. So now she buys books with a rhyme, and so she makes it a little bit into a song. But what does the girl do in this case? She just hits the book, she hits the
Right.
book. She has
Stand
no
it now,
sense of
or
book. She doesn't, it's not an issue of reading, but she likes to be close. So this child has no sense of eating, no sense of herself really within a body, no imaginative play, nonverbal, but she likes to be close to people. See?
she likes
She's
to be
not a child.
close because she has that connection with that mom.
She has connection not only with mom, even with people who come to the house. So she has some social ability. So you see, the spectrum is, yeah, indeed a spectrum. That is for sure.
Yeah, needs more understanding.
More or less. But for her, for this 4-year-old, there's a spike. There's a spike of ability. So I'm going to take that into consideration in my choice within the hundreds of remedies that I have, literally thousands. I'm going to choose. I'm not going to choose a remedy that doesn't have social ability. My remedy choice tomorrow, from these few notes that I have, and within this 3-hour consultation that I'm going to take, my choice of remedy will have this ability of socialization, but definitely will have. So it's sort of like those those recording studios where they move things up and down and so on. That's what it's possible to do now.
I have to wrap it up, and then
Okay.
so what I would like to wrap up the show. What will be some of the things you'd like to tell to help the parents out there with autism, and then what remedy you help them with?
Well, there's hundreds. There's hundreds of remedies now, especially coming out of Europe, that are not available in the U.S.
I have to wrap it up. So thank you, Steve, for coming on to my show. I am Maria, and stay tuned to my next episode on Athena Autistic Artist College.